My name is Leo Thorne, 34 years old, and despite designing structures that scrape the Seattle skyline, I've never cast a shadow long enough to impress the man who raised me. The annual Thorne Foundation gala loomed, a glittering cage disguised as a family reunion. Dread coiled in my gut, colder and tighter than the Puget Sound fog. This year I'd brought a weapon disguised as a peace offering, a rare 1950s Patek Philippe chronograph, the very watch Dr. Silas Thorne had once sighed over in a surgical journal. Little did I know, nestled beside its velvet box in my jacket pocket, was a document that would detonate our carefully constructed world. By the end of the night, I wouldn't just understand his contempt, I would weaponize it. The Thorne penthouse perched above Seattle like an obsidian crown. Below, the city pulsed, indifferent. Inside, the air hummed with a different kind of electricity, the low thrum of expectation, laced with the cloying scent of imported lilies and unspoken tension. My knuckles whitened around the steering wheel of my Audi R8. Not the Mercedes S-Class, that was his now. My offering, my desperate, pathetic plea carved in platinum and sapphire. Silas Thorne wasn't just my father. He was Dr. Silas Thorne, chief of cardiothoracic surgery at Seattle Grace, a titan whose scalpel-sharp intellect dissected everything, especially failures, especially me. My mother, Eleanor, existed in his orbit like a finely tuned instrument, her warmth muted, her opinions carefully calibrated to avoid discord. My older brother, Marcus, golden, effortless Marcus, followed Silas into medicine without a stumble. My younger sister, Chloe, navigated the treacherous currents with an uncanny grace, the family diplomat. And me, Leo, the structural engineer, the one who built things Silas deemed transient, unimportant, the one whose very presence seemed to grate against his meticulously ordered reality. My success was a fortress I'd built brick by bloody brick, far from the Thorne name. Top of my class at MIT, scholarships, not trust funds. Sleepless nights drafting in cramped apartments while Marcus breezed through med school. Founding my own firm, Thorne & Associates, the irony wasn't lost on me, and landing the impossible, the Vertigo Tower, Seattle's new twisted glass sentinel. Silas's response to the news, a raised eyebrow over his breakfast newspaper. Impressive height. Hope the foundations are more stable than the current market. The Patek Philippe had cost me nearly 18 months of Vertigo's profits, a ludicrous bribe. I'd imagined the weight of it in his hand, the flicker of surprise, maybe. Respect? The fantasy curdled in my stomach now. I smoothed the lapels of my Tom Ford tuxedo, a dark charcoal chosen for its severity. Confidence was armor. I'd worn it in boardrooms facing down billionaires. Tonight I needed it against my own blood. The elevator doors sighed open onto the penthouse foyer, a cavern of polished black marble and stark modern art. The low murmur of conversation, the clink of crystal, the familiar symphony of Thorne performance. Eleanor materialized, a wisp of champagne silk. Her embrace was brief, fierce. "Leo, darling, you look intense." Her eyes, the same deep brown as mine, held a flicker of apprehension. "Your father's on the terrace with the hospital board. He's reviewing the quarterly reports." A warning disguised as information. The room was a curated menagerie. Relatives by blood and obligation, sycophants drawn to the Thorne luminescence. Aunt Beatrice, Eleanor's sister, descended, air kisses grazing my cheeks. "Still single, Leo? All those blueprints, no time for blue eyes?" Uncle Robert, hearty and loud, "There's our skyscraper king. Heard Vertigo's giving tourists vertigo." A comment designed to needle Silas, who valued subtlety above all. Then he entered, not through the terrace doors, but through the main entrance, flanked by 3 board members. Dr. Alistair Vance, coldly ambitious, Mrs. Genevieve Dubois, whose philanthropy masked a razor intellect, and young Dr. Ethan Reed, the rising star Silas tolerated. Their laughter was too sharp, too brief. Silas's gaze swept the room, a lighthouse beam of assessment. It paused on Marcus, receiving a warm nod. On Chloe, a fractional softening. On me, a micro-expression, a tightening at the corner of his thin lips, before sliding away as if encountering a smudge on the polished marble. No greeting, just dismissal. The familiar sting, honed over decades, lance deep. Eleanor was at my elbow instantly. "Darling, the Patek Philippe. It's breathtakingly generous," she murmured, her voice low, eyes telegraphing a plea for caution. "The Dubois are fascinated by sustainable architecture. Genevieve would adore your insights on Vertigo's carbon footprint." My buffer, my handler. Marcus arrived late, naturally. Perfect wife Isabella, perfect children in tow. The paternal embrace Silas reserved for him was a physical blow I absorbed without flinching. "Dad, the Patek. Saw it in the study. Vintage perfection. When did you decide to indulge?" Marcus's voice carried effortlessly. Silas clapped his shoulder. A reminder, son. Excellence deserves recognition. A reward for precision. No mention of the giver. My contribution vaporized. Chloe intercepted me near a brutalist sculpture, pulling me into a quiet corner. Leo, vertigo. Seriously? That's not just impressive, it's revolutionary. Her use of my childhood name, Leo, not Leonard, was a lifeline. The way it interacts with the soundlight, it's breathtaking. I watched Silas lead Vance and Dubois towards his study. Through the open door, I saw him gesture to the watch displayed on a black velvet stand under focused light. His voice, low but carrying, held a pride I'd never heard directed at my buildings. Swiss engineering at its zenith, a testament to timeless craftsmanship. He's shown it to 3 groups already, Chloe murmured, handing me a tumbler of single malt. Mom told me, that watch, it was too much, Leo. Generosity wasn't the point, I admitted, the whiskey burning a path down my throat. Just once, I wanted him to see me. Pathetic, right? Chloe squeezed my arm. Not pathetic, human, but Leo... She hesitated, choosing words like surgical instruments. He'll never give you what you crave. It's not about deserving, it's about him. Something's fractured. With you, specifically. Her words landed with the force of a dropped beam. Acknowledgement. It made the secret in my pocket vibrate. The sealed envelope from Genetica Labs. The results. 99.98% probability. No biological paternity. Dinner was served in the sterile opulence of the formal dining room. A 20-foot slab of black granite under a chandelier like frozen lightning. My place card sat midway down, exiled between a cousin's vapid husband and Dr. Reed. Marcus, Isabella, the children, the inner circle around Silas. Eleanor at the far end, a solitary sentinel. Silas rose with his first glass of Burgundy. Silence fell instantly. Another year, he began, his voice resonating in the hushed space. Another testament to the Thorne legacy, built not merely on achievement, but on unwavering principle. His gaze swept over Marcus, then Chloe. Marcus, your pioneering work on the minimally invasive valve replacement, setting the standard. Precision worthy of the Thorne name. Marcus inclined his head, basking. And Chloe, your leadership on the Children's Hospital expansion. Blending compassion with operational excellence. Your mother and I are deeply proud. He paused. The beam of his attention swung towards my end of the table. My breath hitched. Not hope, anticipation of the blade. As I survey my children's paths, he continued, swirling the wine, I'm reminded success manifests diversely. The pause stretched, taut. Some measure it in concrete and steel, in fleeting monuments to ambition. His eyes locked onto mine, cold and assessing. Others understand true legacy lies in healing, in permanence, in upholding the values that endure. The unspoken verdict hung in the air. You build sandcastles, Leo. We build cathedrals of flesh and bone. The familiar pressure built behind my eyes. Flight instinct warred with a new cold fury. The meal was an autopsy of my worth conducted with silver scalpels. Silas, emboldened by the Burgundy, lobbed grenades disguised as conversation. Leo, Vertigo's aesthetic is certainly dramatic, but how does it serve the community beyond spectacle? Real architecture solves human problems, doesn't it? Implied, unlike your frivolous tower. I understand the city fast-tracked permits. Fortunate, given the usual bureaucratic quagmire. Marcus mentioned Councilman Briggs had a soft spot for innovative design. Implied nepotism, not merit. Sustainable features are commendable, of course, though one wonders about the true carbon cost of such exuberance. Implied, your success is environmentally irresponsible. I parried with professional detachment, citing Vertigo's mixed-use integration, its stormwater reclamation system, the blind international design competition we'd won. Each correction met with Silas's dismissive wave. Statistics are malleable, Leo. Wait for the first major quake. We'll see how theoretical models hold against reality. He'd pivot instantly. Alistair, the projected outcomes for the new cardiac wing. By the main course, an overly intricate, deconstructed beef Wellington that tasted of ash, the rhythm was set. Silas's consumption increased. Eleanor tracked his glasses with nervous eyes. Marcus whispered something to him, receiving a sharp shake of the head. As espresso and a clinically perfect chocolate sphere was served, Mrs. Dubois leaned towards me. Such a visionary, Leo, and still unattached? Surely Seattle's elite must be lining up. Before I could utter a polite deflection, Silas cut in, his voice slightly thickened but razor-sharp. Leo has always prioritized demonstrations, grand gestures. He took a deliberate sip of cognac. Family requires a different kind of architecture, compromise, foundation, qualities the Thorne women, his gaze flickered dismissively towards Eleanor and Chloe, have traditionally understood. The cruelty was surgical. My career, a desperate flailing. My singleness, a personal failing. Eleanor's sharp gasp was a knife in the quiet. "Silas," she began, a tremor in her voice. He overrode her. Perhaps if Leo had shown more interest in the connections Isabella or Chloe could have facilitated, the Reeds, the Vanowans, rather than dismissing them as intellectually stifling, he wouldn't be navigating his 30s solo. Each word was calibrated for maximum humiliation, delivered as paternal concern. The pressure behind my eyes became a physical throb. The urge to smash my crystal, to scream, warred with a terrifying icy calm spreading through my core. The envelope burned against my chest. Silas stood for his concluding remarks. Cognac snifter raised. The room froze. "Before we adjourn," he announced, the benevolent patriarch mask firmly in place, "a final toast to family, the ultimate institution, demanding vision, leadership, and participants who embrace their role in the greater design." His eyes scanned the table, performing connection. "Marcus, your surgical innovations redefine possibility. You are the future of thorn medicine." Marcus glowed. "Chloe, your blend of compassion and steel ensures the family's philanthropic heart beats strong. Your mother and I are profoundly proud." Chloe offered a tight, gracious smile. He paused, the spotlight beam swung back. It lingered. "And as I reflect," his voice took on a contemplative, almost pitying tone, "I'm struck by how divergent paths can be. Some chase monuments," his gaze fixed on me, cold and unblinking, "while others build legacies that heal." He raised his glass higher. "To all my children, except the one whose ambition outpaces his substance." He didn't say my name. He didn't need to. "The one who confuses height with depth." Silence. Absolute suffocating silence. Then, nervous, uncertain titters from the periphery. Blood roared in my ears, then receded, leaving a vast, cold emptiness. Every slight, every dismissal, every impossible standard crystallized in that moment. The weight of the envelope shifted from burden to detonator. I stood, smoothly, deliberately. The movement cut through the stunned quiet like a guillotine. Conversations died. Every eye snapped to me. I didn't raise my glass. I placed my napkin neatly beside my untouched dessert. "Thank you, Father," I said, my voice clear, steady, echoing slightly in the cavernous room. The professional calm I wielded in high-stakes pitches enveloped me. For that illuminating perspective, I've spent 34 years striving for approval from a man genetically incapable of granting it. A collective intake of breath. Eleanor went sheet white. Marcus stiffened. I graduated top of my class at MIT, built a firm from blueprints and sweat, designed a building that redefined Seattle's skyline. By most objective measures, I let my gaze sweep the table, meeting the shocked eyes of Vance, the calculating ones of Dubois, the pitying ones of Aunt Beatrice, hardly insubstantial. I turned fully to face Silas. His face was a mask of icy fury, the cognac glass trembling slightly in his hand. But success in Silas Thorne's world was never about achievement, was it? It was about conformity, about reflecting his glory, about being a carbon copy he could claim. I reached into my jacket pocket. The rustle of the envelope was deafening in the silence. "I bought you a watch worth more than most surgeons earn in 2 years." I held up the envelope. "Not because you deserved it, but because a foolish part of me still hoped a grand enough gesture might bridge the chasm you dug between us at my birth." I placed the envelope precisely in the center of the black granite table, directly in front of his place setting. It looked stark, final. For 3 decades, I thought the fault was mine, that I wasn't smart enough, driven enough, thorn enough. My voice didn't waver. Today I finally understand. The flaw wasn't in my effort. It was in my DNA. Gasps rippled around the table. Eleanor made a small choked sound. Marcus half rose from his seat. I tapped the envelope. "For you, Dad. Happy Foundation Gala." The paternal title dripped with acid. I turned, not fled, walked, back straight, pace measured, each step echoing on the marble. The shocked silence held until I reached the foyer's edge, then erupted into a cacophony of overlapping voices, shock, outrage, morbid curiosity. I didn't look back. The penthouse elevator doors slid shut, sealing me in blessed sterile silence. Down to the garage. The Audi R8 waited, sleek and predatory under the harsh fluorescent lights. My car, my escape. The spare fob for the Mercedes I'd gifted Silas felt cold in my hand. The one he'd been showing off all night. The symbol of his success. A dark smile touched my lips. Reclamation. The Mercedes S-Class sat near the entrance ramp, polished obsidian under the garage lights. Silas had parked it prominently for his guests to admire. His trophy. I pressed the fob. The lights flashed, the locks thunked open with a sound like a gavel falling. I slid into the driver's seat. The leather still held a faint trace of his cologne, sterile, antiseptic. I started the engine, a deep, powerful purr. Through the windshield, I saw figures erupt onto the garage landing. Silas first, his face contorted with an unrecognizable fury, still clutching the opened Genetica Labs envelope. Eleanor behind him, hands pressed to her mouth. Marcus shouting something lost beneath the engine's growl. Silas's mouth opened in a silent scream, his arm raised, pointing, a figure of pure, impotent rage. I reversed smoothly, then accelerated up the ramp. The Mercedes surged forward, a beast unleashed. In the rearview mirror, Silas Thorne shrank, a diminishing figure of fury framed in the harsh garage light, his carefully constructed world crumbling behind me. The symmetry was perfect. I'd taken back the symbol. Soon, I'd take back everything else. The city lights blurred past, streaks of neon against the night. The cold fury simmering inside me began to crystallize into something sharper, more purposeful. Revenge wasn't just walking away. Revenge was dismantling the legacy that rejected me, brick by bloody brick. And I had the blueprint. It started with a name. The name inside that envelope wasn't just biology. It was leverage. It was destiny. Silas Thorne had spent a lifetime trying to make me feel like nothing. Now I would show him what nothing could truly build. The game had just begun, and the stakes were his entire world.